And yes, happy Friday to you. Welcome to the Scoreboard. Oh, what a day it is. Happy Friday. A little interesting out there. Looks like it's going to rain. Little housekeeping before we get started today on the Scoreboard. This particular episode has been pre-recorded. Yes, it is up to date. We are talking on a Friday, but I am not live in studio, so unfortunately, no phone calls today. We'll get back to that on Monday, I promise. But today, we have a lot of things to go over, and actually, I'm standing right now the way I normally start the show. In a little bit, we're probably going to change that up because I have so much information that I need to go over. I'm going to sit down and really make sure that you guys know what is going on in the world of sports, whether it's high school, college, professional sports. It's all going on to this weekend. You got it all. Tonight, you have high school football. You have college football as well. Don't forget that. College football does play pretty much every single day of the week nowadays. Tomorrow, college football, obviously, big Saturday. You also have high school volleyball state championship games, as yesterday was the semifinals, the regionals. We're going to go over who advanced, who is going to make it into that championship game and go play for a state championship. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4A to go over today. So we want to make sure that you guys don't miss out on what's going on in the local high school sports scene. Now, yesterday we did talk a little bit of soccer. That season is coming to an end. The football season is coming to an end as well. Now, there are a few games left, and I will say it's weird. We have some teams that are ending their season today, some teams that will be ending their season next week. So still a little bit of time before we get into playoffs for football, but the regular season coming to an end. We are going to talk about some of those schools as we progress here in the high school football scene. We also have NASCAR coming up on Saturday. I know there's NFL on Sunday, but NASCAR on Sunday is going to be huge. It's Martinsville. What's so special about Martinsville? Well, it is the final race of the third round of the playoffs. It is the penultimate race of the NASCAR Cup Series season. We will have a Final Four set after the race on Sunday. We will know who will be going to Phoenix to fight for a championship. And I do want to apologize to everybody. I am a little stuffy today, so I may be wiping my nose off a little bit as we progress through the show today. So I apologize for that. A little stuffy. Those fall allergies, man, they will get you. They really will. We don't have to talk baseball today. I'm feeling better. Still sad. Still sad. The Yankees lost Game 5. Really unfortunate, but doesn't matter. We move on. We are not going to get into the offseason of baseball just yet. We may dabble in that next week because there's more important stuff to cover before we get into the weekend. There's so much going on this weekend. I want to make sure everybody's prepared for what we have coming up. Now, I also want to let you guys know about something that WSIC has going on. You could win 4 tickets to the World of Outlaws World Finals from Wednesday, November 6th to Saturday, November 9th. Experience all 3 series over 4 thrilling days of dirt racing action. So this will feature the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series, the World of Outlaws Case Construction Equipment Late Model Series, and the Super Dirt Car Big Block Modifieds. You can win tickets to this. It is possible for you to win tickets. Now, how do you enter? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. What you have to do is you have to go to the WSIC social media. It is on Instagram and Facebook. So if you go to the WSIC Instagram or the WSIC Facebook, you will find a post detailing what you need to do to win these tickets to the World of Outlaws World Finals. I'm going to tell you right now how you do it. Go to the post on Facebook and Instagram, tag somebody in the comments, like the post, and make sure that you are following WSIC News on Facebook and Instagram. It's that easy. There is going to be a winner chosen on Tuesday, November 5th, and the winners will all be notified via Instagram or Facebook messages, depending on where the winner comes from. All tickets must be picked up at the WSIC studio. So just a little giveaway for you guys as we get into the World of Outlaws World Finals coming up next week, Wednesday, November 6th to Saturday, November 9th. You can win tickets to all 4 days. 3 different series going to be competing. It's going to be a great time for the World of Outlaws World Finals. We're going to get into some things in the world of sports. We're going to start things off today by talking about volleyball. Now, the volleyball season has come to an end. The playoffs are going on, and we have one team within our listening area that was remaining going into the regionals from last night. That team was North Iredell High School. North Iredell played number 1 seed West Henderson. And the final score, this one went 5 full sets. West Henderson won 3 sets. North Iredell won 2 sets. North Iredell, unfortunately, will not be moving on to play for a state championship this time around as they lose 3-2 in the regionals against West Henderson. Now, they put up a good fight. West Henderson, they won the first set, 25-18. Then North Iredell comes back with 2 consecutive set wins of 25-23 and 25-16. Then West Henderson forces the all-important 5th set with a 25-12 victory on that set. And in that tie-breaking 5th set, well, West Henderson, they really took control, winning it 15-6 for the 3-2 win. West Henderson advances to a national or to a state championship game. Not a national championship, a state championship game. We got plenty more to talk about today on the scoreboard, but we are running into our first commercial break of the evening. When we return, we're going to get into those volleyball playoff matchups, and then we're going to take our attention to high school football. It is a Friday night. We got the lights on. Seasons are coming to an end. Who is going to make those final playoff pushes? Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We got a good show in front of you. Plenty of time left here on the scoreboard today. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the scoreboard, ladies and gentlemen. 844 Studio 4 is the phone number. And as you may be able to see, I have sat down for this next segment. We got a good show in front of you. We have state championship games to talk about right now. We're going to get into it. We're going to get right into things. Here is the announcement from the North Carolina High School NCHSAA, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. The volleyball state championships will be taking place Saturday, November 2nd at Reynolds Coliseum on the campus of North Carolina State University, NC State. The schedule will be as follows. The first game of the day will be at 11 a.m. It'll be the 2A state championship game. Number 4, Seaforth High School, out of the eastern part of the state, will be playing number 1, McMichael High School, out of the west. That is the 2A state championship game, and it will take place at 11 o'clock, 11 a.m. on Saturday. Following the 2A state championship game, it'll be the 1A state championship game. Perkins High School. Probably didn't say that right, to be honest with you, but they are way out on the eastern part of the state, so we're not all that familiar with them to begin with. That's the 3 seed playing Polk County High School, who is also a 3 seed out of the western end of the state. That is the 1A state championship game. It'll be taking place at 1:30 at North Carolina State University, Reynolds Coliseum. After the 1A state championship game, it'll be the 3A girls getting some action in at 4 o'clock. The 3A state championship will be against number 1 seeds. The number 1 seed out of the eastern part of the state, J.H. Rose High School, will be playing the number 1 seed out of the west, West Henderson High School. That game for the 3A championship is at 4 p.m. And finally, last but not least, we have the 4A state championship. That is going to be at 6:30. It'll be the number 5 seed, Cardinal Gibbons High School, out of the east part of the state, playing the number 1 seed out of the west, Marvin Ridge High School. Now, Marvin Ridge is just out of our listening area. They are in Waxhaw, so just outside of Charlotte. Closest school, really, in our area that's going to be playing for a state championship. So that is how the volleyball scene is. Big shout out to everybody in our area who had a good year. I know we talked about Pine Lake quite a bit in the 2A bracket. Unfortunately, they got knocked out in the second round. You had North Iredell High School, who I honestly thought they were going to go play for a state championship. I was rooting for them. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be, and they got beat by West Henderson, who then goes to play for a state title. So a big congratulations to everybody within the area who had a good season. We are going to let you know who the state champions are in 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A on Monday when we return. As you know, it is a Friday. Games are on Saturday, so we'll talk about that on Monday. That is how the volleyball state championship games will play out. 11 o'clock, it's the 2A game between Seaforth and McMichael. 1:30 is the 1A, Perkins High School and Polk County High School. 4 o'clock is J.H. Rose and West Henderson as the 3A state championship game. And the 4A state championship at 6:30, Cardinal Gibbons taking on Marvin Ridge High School. That is not the only high school action that we have going on this weekend. Tonight is high school football. And I want to start by congratulating a few schools on finishing out their year today. We talked about Pine Lake quite a bit as it is my alma mater high school. They didn't have the best year, but when we talked to the athletic director over there, Brett Hayford, he had mentioned that they have a very young team right now. And, I didn't ask him, but I don't believe Pine Lake has a JV team yet. I think it's all just varsity for them. Nonetheless, big congratulations to Pine Lake on another year playing football. It was a tough one, 2-7. Their final game of the year is against CSD. That's the rivalry game. CSD right now is 6-3 overall, but they are 5-1 within the conference. That puts them in second place behind Corvian Community High School. We also want to say congratulations on a good season to Lake Norman Charter. Lake Norman Charter in the 1A, 2A Yadkin Valley Conference is 2-1, which is good enough for second right now, behind Mount Pleasant, who is the 1 seed, or the leader of the conference, I should say. Lake Norman Charter has a game tonight. It ends their regular season. It'll be against Bonnie Cone Leadership Academy. Bonnie Cone Leadership Academy are the Eagles. They are right here in Huntersville, having a tough year. They've been 1-8 on the year. But for Lake Norman Charter, a 7-1 record, second in the conference. They are definitely going to be looking for a good bid into the playoffs. Now I want to talk about the schools that we're familiar with, that we talk about almost every single day here on the scoreboard. You have Lake Norman High School playing Mooresville High School. It is the rivalry game tonight between Lake Norman and Mooresville. Here is what you need to know. Going into this game, Lake Norman is 7-2, 4-1 within the conference, which is good for second in the conference. Mooresville High School is 8-1 on the year, and they have not lost a conference game quite yet. So if Lake Norman ends up beating Mooresville High School, Lake Norman will win the 4A Greater Metro Conference on the tiebreaker, which is obviously head-to-head. But if Mooresville wins it, they will be undefeated in their conference, the 4A Greater Metro Conference, and honestly, they will have a really good bid when it comes to the playoffs coming up relatively soon. We're a couple of weeks away. This game is going to be at Mooresville High School. So Lake Norman on the road. Mooresville ends their regular season at home. This is going to be the game of the week right here. It really is. As we move into playoffs, conference finals, conference championship games will be coming up as well. Mooresville is the 23rd ranked team in the state, by the way. Keep that in mind. They have had a very good year. Coming up a little farther north, Statesville High School playing Hickory High School. This is another huge game when it comes to seeding, when it comes to conference rankings. Hickory High School is 9-0 on the year. They have not lost a single game, which means they're number one in the conference in that 3A Western Foothill Conference at 6-0. Statesville High School is 8-1 on the year. They're 5-1 within the conference as they lost to North Lincoln High School earlier in the year. And North Lincoln, by the way, their only loss in the conference came to Hickory High School earlier in the year. So this is the team to beat in the 3A conference, the 3A Western Foothills. Statesville will be traveling up to Hickory to play that squad at 7:30 tonight. The Hickory Red Tornadoes, as they're called, taking on the Statesville Greyhounds. Later on tonight at 7:30, that is going to be a massive, massive game. Getting into some other games that are going on around the area, I want to make sure we keep an eye on South Iredell High School. South Iredell is 5-4 on the year, just above 500. Most recently, they lost to Lake Norman, and man, it was a tough loss. They were up 11 going into that fourth quarter. And Lake Norman ended up scoring 15 unanswered to get the 29-25 victory. South Iredell will be playing Cox Mill High School, who only has a single win on the year. 3-2 in the conference is South Iredell. Last team that I want to talk about today is Huff High School. We don't really talk all that much about Cornelius and Huff High School. Huff is ranked number 2 in the state of North Carolina. They are undefeated in the 3 to 4A Queen City Conference. They are, honestly, they may be the team to beat right now in that 4A bracket. But Huff High School having a great year, 8-1. Their final game of the year is tonight on the road against Hopewell High School. That is how the high school scene looks as we head into your Friday night. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We're halfway through on the scoreboard on this Friday. More to come right after this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. You're listening to the Scoreboard, 844 Studio 4. That's 844-788-3464 if you want to be a part of the program. Well, actually, unfortunately, I say that all the time, but this episode has been pre-recorded. So unfortunately, I won't be able to take your phone calls. You could try, but nobody's going to be here to answer it. Sorry about that. We are halfway through the program today on the Scoreboard. We are going to get into some NASCAR conversation here during the next segment. But I also want to backtrack just a little bit and remind you about the giveaway that we are doing for the World of Outlaws Finals. You can win 4 tickets to those World of Outlaws World Finals from Wednesday, November 6th to Saturday, November 9th. Experience all 3 series over 4 thrilling days of dirt racing action. Those 3 series are the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series, the World of Outlaws Case Construction Equipment Late Model Series, and the Super Dirt Car Big Block Modifieds. Now, how do you enter to win these tickets? Well, number one, you're going to go to either the WSIC Instagram or the WSIC Facebook. You are going to find the post, which should be right up at the top, about the giveaway for these World of Outlaws World Finals. Once you find it, you have to go and make a comment. And when you comment, I need you to tag a race fan. Anybody that you know who's a race fan, or just anybody you know. Like the post as well. Share the post, and make sure you are following WSIC on social media. The contest will close Tuesday, November 5th. The winners will be notified via Instagram or Facebook messages, and you must come to WSIC Studio to pick up your tickets. Big thank you to Mamie Lee for putting this one together, our digital director over here at WSIC. On the topic of motorsports, let's talk about the NASCAR Cup Series, shall we? Because we are getting down to it. When you look at the schedule, when you look at how many races have been completed, how many different drivers we've had win a race, well, there's only 2 more remaining. And the penultimate race of the season is at Martinsville Speedway, as it's been over the past few years, for the Xfinity 500. 500 laps around the paperclip of Martinsville Speedway. It is the last chance for the playoff drivers to punch their ticket to the Final Four to go race for a championship at Phoenix Raceway. That'll be coming up next weekend. How are things shaking out in the playoffs, you might ask? Who's in? Who has a chance? Who's out? Well, let's go over it. Tyler Reddick won at Homestead. That win at Homestead punched his ticket to the championship 4. He is locked in. Joey Logano also got a win during this round of the playoffs as he won the first race of the round at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So those 2 drivers currently are locked into the Final Four. They will not miss the Final Four. They will be going to race for a championship. And to be honest, I wouldn't expect to hear from them all that much. because what's the point in running well at Martinsville? They're focused on that Phoenix car. The first two drivers that are in the Final Four who are not locked in on a win, well, that's Christopher Bell and William Byron. Christopher Bell is in the best shape of the drivers that have yet to win a race this round. He is 29 points above Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson is the first driver not in the playoffs, not in the Final Four. William Byron, currently fourth in the round of 8, is only 7 points above that cut line, which means the points race is going to be between Byron and Larson. Now, there's 3 other drivers below Larson who can get into the Final Four: Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, and Chase Elliott. Now, Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott, I think they have to win. There is no point for route for them to get in. Ryan Blaney is 38 points behind the cut line. Chase Elliott, 43 points below the cut line. So those two drivers need to win. Now, Denny Hamlin, on the other hand, there is a little bit of a path for him to make the Final Four on points. But to be more cautious, because what if Ryan Blaney or Chase Elliott wins? Well, that moves the cut line to Christopher Bell, who has a huge point advantage on the rest of the field. So Denny Hamlin, although there is a way for him to point his way into the Final Four, I think he is going to need to win this race. The penultimate race of the NASCAR Cup Series from Martinsville Speedway takes place Sunday, November 3rd, 2 p.m. on NBC. And if you're listening to the audio stream of it, MRN will be on the call. I want to bring a little interview. It's a mini interview. It's about a minute long from William Byron about Martinsville and how he's fared there in the past and going there with a potential to race for a championship.
It's a short week for sure. You're not home very often, but I feel like it's just a lot of fun. I loved being a part of it last year. I felt like I learned a lot, and I felt like, I kind of know what my routine would be going back this year. So, I just really enjoyed it, and I feel like it's something as a competitor you want to be a part of.
Second time around, then, so a lot of those lessons learned you look to maybe apply to come out of there with a grand prize? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I think for us, we were really good qualifying last year, qualified on the pole, which was awesome. And then we just, need to continue to improve for sure and try to be better throughout the whole race. And there's a couple things that have changed this year. Qualifying I don't think is as important because they moved the camera line on pit roads. So I think there'll be some differences there, with how you qualify, and maybe not so much of an emphasis on that, but more of an emphasis on the end of the race.
And it's going to be an interesting race at that here when we get to Martinsville this weekend. One more time, it's Tyler Reddick and Joey Logano locked in with a win. Christopher Bell and William Byron currently occupying those final 2 transfer spots. Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, and Chase Elliott on the outside looking in. Let's go ahead and real quick go over the Xfinity Series. You have Austin Hill, AJ Allmendinger, all locked in. Justin Allgaier and Cole Custer are the next 2 drivers in the transfer. Everybody outside of the playoffs, outside of that top 4 right now in the Xfinity Series, has to win. There's no question about it. 28 points behind is the minimum right now. Chandler Smith, Jesse Love, Sam Mayer, and Sammy Smith. Sammy Smith is 95 points behind after 2 races. So he is definitely in a win-and-in scenario. As for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, 1 driver has made it in on a win so far. That's Grant Enfinger. Corey Heim, Christian Eckes, and Ty Majeski are your next 4 drivers in. Rajah Caruth, Taylor Gray, Tyler Ankrum, and Nicholas Sanchez are your 4 drivers on the outside looking in. It's going to be a fun weekend at Martinsville. Action starting today with a truck series race at 6 o'clock. Saturday, the Xfinity race is at 4 o'clock. And Sunday, the NASCAR Cup Series racing at 2 p.m. We have one more segment remaining here on the Scoreboard today. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this. And everyone, welcome back. It is the final segment on this Friday. We're going to go over some things in the news. We'll talk a little football, a little Charlotte FC as well, as we get you prepared for the weekend that's coming up. A few things in the news. Let's get into basketball real quick. Victor Wembanyama made history yesterday as the Spurs beat the Utah Jazz 106-88. Here is the stat line. Victor Wembanyama had 25 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 steals, and 5 blocks, giving him at least 5 in 5 categories. That is a 5x5 game. That is his second career 5x5 game. With the first one he got last year in February in a game against the Lakers. His performance made him the third player all time with multiple 5x5 games all time. He joins Hakeem Olajuwon, who did it 6 times, and Andrei Kirilenko, who did it 3 times. That's a insane stats to have at least 5 of every category. It's like, yeah, there's a triple-double and a quadruple-double, and now there's a quintuple. A 5x5. Absolutely insane. Now, Victor Wembanyama is in his second year in the NBA. And I think he is already on pace to be the best NBA player that we have right now. Give it a year. Give it 2 years. He is going to be the number 1 player in the NBA. Another news story. This one broke yesterday during the Scoreboard, and I did not see it, and I want to make sure that we bring this up. Bob Costas announced that after 42 years, he is retiring from baseball play-by-play. His final games were in the American League Divisional Series between the New York Yankees and the Kansas City Royals. His contract expires at the end of the season, but he planned to retire from play-by-play. Pretty much from the report, he knew this would be his last year. I think it's a good idea for Bob Costas, honestly, because if you listened to that Yankees-Royals series, I'm not going to say he's become the new Al Michaels, but it's time to get some fresh blood in the booth. And I'm not disrespecting Bob Costas at all. One of the all-time greats when it comes to sports play-by-play broadcasting. MLB, Olympic coverage. I mean, he has done so much when it comes to play-by-play. At the age that he is right now, and he's currently 72 years old, he decides to end his play-by-play baseball career. So a big congratulations to Bob Costas. I threw Al Michaels' name in there. Did anybody watch Thursday Night Football between the Jets and the Texans? First of all, the Jets come out victorious in this game. The Jets beat the Texans. Now, it is a Thursday night game, so I take that with a grain of salt because, well, Thursday night games, they're not the best. And it's about time for the NFL to realize that this is not fun for people to watch these games. The problem is you play on Sunday. You have what? Monday, Tuesday, probably travel Wednesday, play on Thursday. There's no time to prepare for these games. And nobody's going to practice on Monday, so you have Tuesday. Nobody's going to practice on Wednesday. You're going to do your walkthrough on Wednesday, which gives you really one day for practice leading up to the Thursday night game. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly why they've been tough watches over the past few years, but I hope that the NFL is at least watching and has the ability to acknowledge that, yeah, this is a bad situation. When you hear Al Michaels calling the game and he's just kind of out of things to say and he says, quote, I don't know, we need to get something going. I don't know what to talk about. That's a tough look for the NFL. And they did get something going eventually in that game. It wasn't a complete loss. But, man, it was like pulling teeth for a while there. 0-0 for a lot of the game. We go into halftime with a 7-0 Houston lead. And the New York Jets scored 21 points in the second half to come out victorious for their third win of the season. Now, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. They are not out of the playoffs. I know everybody's loving to hate on the Jets and how bad they've been this year. People love to hate on teams that are bad. But the Jets at 3-6, they still have a chance to make the playoffs. The Chargers are the last team in right now with a 4-3 record. Then you have the Ravens at 5-3, the Broncos at 5-3 as well. So there is still a chance. There is still a path for the Jets. Currently, they have a 29% chance of making the playoffs, according to NFL.com. Some games to watch for the weekend. Obviously, you have your Carolina Panthers in action against the Saints. It'll be a home game. There's a few games that I'm curious about. Sunday night with the Colts and their new quarterback, their new old quarterback, Joe Flacco, is penned to start that one as Anthony Richardson has been benched. Monday night, the Buccaneers travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. That, I think, is going to be a pretty good game. I like the Buccaneers, man. I do. It's really hard for me not to like Baker Mayfield, but I like him. I think he's a good player, and I want to see him succeed. That's coming up on Monday night. You have a NFC North matchup as the 6-1 Lions travel to Green Bay to play the 6-2 Green Bay Packers. Then you have an NFC West matchup here as well, the Rams and the Seahawks. There are good games all the way throughout. Another good one here, the Broncos play the Ravens at 1 o'clock. So there's stuff to watch. Now, obviously, a lot of us are going to be watching the Panthers at 1 o'clock take on the Saints, and the news from earlier this week that Bryce Young is going to be the quarterback. I think the plan or the thought process here is to start Bryce Young for the next 2 weeks and then evaluate. Unless they decide to trade him before the trade deadline, which is coming up in a few days. Next week is the trade deadline. But I would think that they're going to start him this week against the Saints, next week against the Giants, and then make a decision after that whether they want to bench him or keep playing him. If they bench him, it might be a better decision to do that if they're looking to trade him. But if they're not looking to trade him, you might as well keep him in and let him continue to learn on the fly. So that is something that I will be keeping my eye on as we head into week 9. With the final couple of minutes that we have here on the scoreboard today, we're going to do the same thing we do every day and go over some things that happened on this day in sports history. It was on this day in 1994. The Chicago Bulls retired basketball superstar Michael Jordan's number 23 in a 2-hour jersey retirement ceremony at the United Center. More basketball for you. 1996, Shaquille O'Neal makes his debut for the LA Lakers as they beat the Phoenix Suns 96-82. Shaq had 23 points and 14 rebounds in 35 minutes. It was a great showing in his first ever game for the Lakers. On this day in 1998, Steve Young and Jerry Rice hooked up for their 80th career touchdown for the 49ers. That eclipsed the previous record that was held by Dan Marino and Mark Clayton with that 80th touchdown pass of the career. Let's see if we can squeeze one more in real quick. 2017, on this day, the Astros won the World Series. They beat the Dodgers 5-1 in Game 7 at Dodger Stadium. And then 2 years later, we all learned about the extensive cheating scandal for the Astros. I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning into the scoreboard this week. Watch some high school, watch some college, watch some pros. Charlotte FC, first ever playoff game in Bank of America Stadium later on tonight. Cheer them on. We'll talk about it Monday. Until then, see ya.